Hey everyone, it's time for another cast party. That's right. On April 24th, we're going to do a live recording of another cast party episode. We get together, talk about how things have been going so far, and answer questions from the live audience about the show. You'll want to hear it. Get the behind the scenes look. We stream it live from the Complex Action Actual Play YouTube channel. Like I said, April 24th. Be there. It'll be a lot of fun. Now, on with the show. You're listening to the Complex Action Actual Play podcast. In today's episode, the members of the team get lessons on the varied ranges of Southern hospitality that exist in Columbia, South Carolina. Throwback spends over 10 hours locked in a small room being pressured by the dragons into spying on his team, while the others get a taste of sweet tea and real coffee. Real coffee. Now please enjoy episode 35, Reagent Level Rust. How you doing, Throwback?
You tell me.
Well, to remind you, the last we left, Throwback got called into his boss's office, so to speak. The Icefyre, the head of the Dragons gang, who Throwback has never interacted with very often, actually, over his tenure in the Dragons gang. But so it was a pretty big deal. And Throwback reacted appropriately, I think. He headed straight over there. And he was asked, in a very pointed and direct way by Icefyre to, keep his eyes and ears open and report back to him about the types of stuff that's going on with the team that Throwback's been working with his Shadowrunning friends. And, types of jobs that they're doing, what kinds of things they're getting, and who they're working for, stuff like that. And just, asking him to share that information, and Throwback, almost as if, like, he didn't realize he was doing it, just straight up told him that he wouldn't do it. And after that, Throwback was asked by Icefyre to step into the other room. Politely, he asked him, and that's where he's been for a while. You actually have gotten some. You haven't been in there too long. Maybe, well, by too long I mean you've been sitting there for a little over an hour before you actually get some messages from some like text messages and some voice messages from Elric trying to get in touch with you. They're just things like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about some stuff with Eon, and wanted to ask you some questions about some other stuff, and just, give me a call whenever you can, get in touch with me whenever you can. Just things like that.
Is there anybody with me in the room?
Sorry, the most recent one is Throwback. We're in this most awesome place, and I want to play with everyone, but Penny won't let me. And he wants me to shut up, and he sprayed me with awful cologne. Help!
Yeah, that's
like all caps, I assume.
Yeah, that's the last message you received. Yeah, there's nobody in you at the room. There's nobody with you in the room right now. It's a pretty barren, empty, square room with a, I think I described it last time as like a stereotypical like interrogation room. There's just like a table and two chairs and a single light over the table.
Okay. Yeah. I think I might be too nervous though to probably text back right now. I'm just sort of like anxious about whatever the heck just happened.
Right, that makes sense. But
so I'm just like pacing back and forth, going like, why did I say that? Why didn't I just tell him yes? Of course I'll do this. Why wouldn't I say that? Just like talking to myself while I'm waiting.
Like legitimately wondering why you would have just said that, right?
Yeah, like there's no reason for me to have told him that I wouldn't do this. Of course I would say I will do my best. I can do my best. This is what I'll do. Why would I say no?
Now, I'll have you know that there has been very quiet whispers, over your time in the Dragons gang of Icefyre being, someone who has the ability to maybe supernaturally manipulate people. So it wouldn't.
He has a very commanding presence.
Exactly, and some people speculate that he's, a magician. Some people say he's possessed by some kind of a spirit. Some people say he's actually a spirit and not a person at all. There's all sorts of rumors about this guy because he's kind of mysterious. He doesn't ever come out very often, and when he does come out, it's usually like in the cover of darkness, and he presents himself as rather mysterious. And
all right, I got a couple questions. Were there any windows in his office?
Yes, there are. No, he has come out often enough that the rumor that you are insinuating, I think, that is not a rumor that he might be, a vampire or something.
That one off. Then, did I see him drink water?
That's a good question. I would say...
'Cause he offered me water, but did he pour himself a glass?
I would say yes, he did. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that means. I was just curious.
Well, I'm not sure what it means either, so I was thinking about it.
I don't know if spirits can drink water. Who knows? I'll ask all right. All right, so I'm just...
he's at least not a fire spirit.
Right, he probably could. That's fair. Scratch that one up.
Yeah, so Throwback's been in the room for a while and sitting there, and after a couple of hours, like, somebody or Icefyre comes back in, and he says, "Oh, Throwback, how are you doing?" And he's standing at the door.
I'm good. I'm here, like you asked.
Yes, I did ask you to come in here. And he closes the door behind him and comes in and sits down, and he says, "We were talking about a favor that I wanted to ask you to help me with."
Of course, yeah, anything.
Well, before you had said that you were maybe not willing to help me out with that. And I'm not, what, I understand, maybe, I don't know, but one thing that I really would like to remind you of is our community here. And he gestures just around himself, and he says, I've always thought that you were a strong, an important part of this community, and we've all been together for so long, and it's just a request to understand and know what's going on around us, and I've been nice and let you do the things that you're doing without asking questions about your overt questions about your priorities and loyalty, because I trust you, and I'm hoping that you can trust us as well, but don't answer. I just wanted to come in and check on you. Has anybody come in here to give you anything to eat or drink?
Throwback just shakes his head no.
Yeah, well, let me talk to somebody and make sure that I can do something about that. I'll be back, and we'll talk some more. And he just gets up and leaves.
Yeah, I just shake my head yes as he gets up and leaves.
And he'll be gone for some more time, and sometime among that time, actually, maybe as much as 30 minutes later, another one of the people who stays in his closer circle entourage will come in and ask you if you don't mind, if that Icefyre forgot to mention it before, that if you don't mind, for various security type reasons, he's very, very protective of this close inner circle and the headquarters that he has here, if you wouldn't mind, as sort of like procedure, he kind of like shrugs it off as just procedure, if you wouldn't mind giving us any kind of comlink or cyberdeck that you might have on you.
Oh man, Throwback's face goes pretty red because he hasn't had a chance to fix the cyberdeck that he owned. So like, yeah, oh gosh, and then he'll lean into his pouch and he pulls out like the hunk of metal that is his cyberdeck, and just kind of like present it forward.
He looks at it and like he grabs it and sort of turns it over and looks at it and smells it a little bit, and says, "Does this thing even work?"
Throwback kind of cuts him off. He's like, "Have you ever heard of Abraham Lincoln sailing the seven seas?"
He furrows his brow and he says, Yeah. I don't. Okay. I don't.
It should work. I can fix it, I think.
Okay, but it doesn't work right now.
No.
He hands it back to you and says, "I'm sure you can just hold on to that then."
Perfect just nods and puts it back away where he grabbed it from.
Does Throwback have any other kind of comm link on him?
Yeah, and then I'll reach into my hoodie pocket and grab just the basic comm link that I've been using.
Is he keeping anything hidden on him?
No.
Okay. Well, then he'll take it.
Double checking. That's the only one I have yet.
All right. He'll take it, and he says, "Thanks," and he leaves.
Okay. Totally unsure if I'll ever see that again. That's fine.
And you're left in there alone again. This time it'll be longer.
I'm gonna take the cyber deck back out, and then grab my toolkit and start trying to fix it.
All right.
If I have hours, then I can start the extended test, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll have to double check. I want to say it's like a threshold 24, or that might be changing ownership. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, threshold 24 is changing ownership.
Oh, you know what? It's just the I just got to get the boxes equal to the condition track.
Yeah, and don't critically glitch. So you might want to wait till you have an edge handy just in case, because if you critically glitch, you will permanently ruin the deck.
It's a good thing we got a spare.
You're talking about a lot of new yen that is not just your own.
No, I know. I'm just teasing.
No, we haven't exactly made that point in character, so carry on. I'm not there to advise you.
Yeah, it's just each roll will be an hour, unless you want to, cut it down. So tell me after each roll, and tell me if you are making it an hour or what.
Okay. Yeah. So the first hour goes by, and I've gotten 2 hits. I was going to apply both of those towards the damage.
All right. Give me another one.
Will I? The second hour, I get 3 additional hits, which I'll apply towards the damage.
All right. And another one.
Hour 3, I've gotten 3 additional hits, which I'll apply towards the damage.
How many boxes do you have left?
3.
All right. Go ahead and roll it again then.
Ooh, that was awful. I edged the 4th hour, but only got 1 hit.
Okay. Well, after the 4th hour, Icefyre comes back in.
So I've just got like my tools strewn across this, metal, scary interrogation desk, and the chairs are like leaned out to each side with like more things and my pack on it. And I got my hoodie off now, and then I just kind of like look up with like my wrist deep in a cyber deck.
Yeah, Icefyre comes in and coolly and calmly and looks and smiles, and he says, Throwback, busy at work. That's why we helped you out and brought you up.
I appreciate that.
And he comes over and pulls the chair. The chair has things over it, right? So he can't.
It's just like my satchel's on it, and like open so that I could get the things in it.
He gestures. He doesn't say anything, but he gestures down at the bag and the chair to obviously, being polite and asking. More saying that he's going to move it than asking if he can.
Yeah. I'm just nodding, as much as I can.
And he moves it and sits down on the chair, and he says, "Yeah, we this is it's these skills that really made you shine in our organization here. It's always been nice to have you around, and I remember when you were so young and didn't know almost the first thing about things like this.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
It has been, and we have been good to you, haven't we?"
Yeah, just nod. Yeah.
And he says, "There's been tough times too, but we've always stuck by you, and we've been good to you during those times too." And he's like looking at your wheelchair.
Yeah, I think the moment he starts to say it, I also just kind of like drop my head a little bit, and I'm sort of looking looking towards my legs and the wheelchair beneath me. But then like I kind of look up and give him another nod.
This organization that we have, the Dragons, and he kind of like he raises his arm a little bit, like to give like a triumphant fist and everything as he says the dragons. And he says, the dragons, we're no insignificant force. We've in Colombia, and I think we can be more so, but we can't do it without your help, Throwback.
I mean, I definitely want to help.
And I believe you. I believe that you do. It's just, the type of things that need to be done in order to take us beyond and to be, a force to be reckoned with, powerful, an influential force in this city that we live. It's not uncommitted. It's not half gestures that are going to get us there. It's sacrifices, it's commitments, it's hard decisions that we have to make. We've all made them, and it gets us places.
Just sort of Throwback's just kind of like furrowing his brow, like focusing really intently on his words, and then just kind of nodding along.
But the things that we sometimes have to ask, and when he says we, he actually points to himself in particular. He says the things that we have to ask of the people that we help, and the people that we call the dragons, and people like you. The things that we ask, we don't ask these things lightly. We don't ask you to do anything more than we think you're capable of. We don't ask you to do anything more than we think is necessary, and nothing that we also don't believe is out of line from what is reciprocal. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Throwback's gonna nod. It's a lot less like furious as the previous ones. He's gonna say, "Yeah, but these people are Shadowrunners, and it's kind of hard to, get anything past them."
I'm not asking you to deceive them. I'm not even asking you to betray them in any way, really. I'm just asking you to let me know what it is that they might be involved in. It's important that we understand what's going on. Things that have happened recently that allegedly they're involved in are concerning to people and concerning to the grander community, and we just need to be aware of what those things are so that we can prepare ourselves to react accordingly.
So we just want information.
It's just information. It's just making sure that we are being kept informed about a group of people that may very well be creating waves in the community. They getting involved in potentially things that are difficult to disentangle ourselves from.
Yeah, waves. I can see that.
So, how do you think that you can do that?
Throwback's like rubbing the back of his neck with his hand. He's like, I mean, information's not so bad. Yeah.
You are of course going to need to roll another charisma, and is it? I always forget. Is it logic?
I probably labeled my roll last time. Let me just scroll up. I labeled it willpower plus secrets, so that wasn't very helpful.
Usually willpower plus logic for most mind control stuff, but I don't know exactly what this dude's doing, so
that's why
it could be something else.
That's what it was.
Logic and intuition's the same for me anyways. That's why I just labeled it secrets.
Oh yeah. Your note that you thought was shorthand was really long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it's the same. It doesn't matter.
And 2 successes.
All right. So you definitely, feel whatever Throwback is thinking right now. Truly deep down, he's being asked, "Can you, provide that information? Can you let us know just the information? What kind of jobs are they going to be performing, and what kind of people are they being employed by? Can you do that? Will you provide that information to us?"
Yeah, I think with a bit of like a sigh of relief, that idea of all he wants is a little information. That can't hurt anybody, possibly. Throwback kind of like sighs with a bit of relief and says, "Yeah, yeah, information's not going to hurt anybody."
He smiles, and he says, "That's all we wanted. I'm sorry to have kept you here all this time." He like raises his hand and gestures, almost as if it was something was waiting out there all along. Somebody comes in and with like a plate full of food and something to drink.
Oh God.
And he smiles and he says, "Get yourself some energy. Clean this up. Take your time. I think we've got." And he, furrows his brow in that way where he's like very satisfied and pleased, kind of, like not like worried, but like, like weird. This is the start of a beautiful friendship, kind of like.
Sure.
Like he says, "I think we've got some important work to do together, Throwback. You've been a part of us for a long time, and I think you're gonna continue to be an important part of our operations." And he puts his hand on your shoulder, and you feel, I'm sure, quite inspired.
Yeah, there's like a very quick flinch, and then just kind of like, back to the nodding, and like, yeah, this feels good. This is a really important person who's like, has a hand on me. That's cool.
Actually, tell me more about, like, I know Throwback has an interesting, strange, like internal, his thoughts in relationship in terms of his relationship with the dragons. What is he thinking right now about the attention that he's getting from the head of this gang that he has a strange relationship with?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be shocked about when he's not a ganger, but he is a member of a gang. It was very much him being in the community, and it just, you either got out of the community or you joined the gang, and that's kind of where he's always been now. And so for him to be getting this type of attention from somebody so important is just it's kind of surreal. Like, he's always kind of been a good member of the community. He's obviously given a lot and helped out wherever he could, but he never really expected to make anything of it. And so as he's kind of seeing this recognition, he feels like, yeah, like, okay, this is good. This feels really good. Scary, still scary, because the man might be a spirit or some sort of cyborg. We don't know, but good. And now that he's touched me, I can cross off a few more of the superstitions off the list. So yeah. I got a lot of things to tell Alpine. If I ever make it out of here, we'll be able to combine our notes and narrow down the list of what Icefyre might be.
Put your heads together.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as Throwback is packing up his stuff, if he were to try to finish his work on the cyberdeck, he wouldn't. He would be kind of like nudged at first subtly, and then not so subtly, to go ahead and pack it up and leave.
Yeah, I don't think he'll press, like, he found a way to be distracted while in this uncomfortable situation, but with the door being available to him, he'll definitely, like, just scoop all of his stuff into his bag and like try to get out of there without being an inconvenience. Like grab the sandwich or whatever that they prepared for him and just kind of like take that with him.
As you're on the way out, you actually see. Well, give me a perception test.
All right, I also want to say, like, anybody that isn't like a super important member of the gang on my way out, I'm gonna ask if they've seen my comlink, just like in passing.
Oh yeah, well, with the plate that came in, it was actually you were given your comlink back.
Oh, okay, fantastic. That was 3 hits on a perception check.
Okay, on the way out, you notice that just like as you're leaving, there was another man coming in to greet Icefyre and shake his hand. He's got he's actually an elf, and he's got some short like long on the top, shaved on the sides kind of hair. He's got kind of a he's got like a what do you got, like a denim jacket with studs in it, real like punk looking guy, but he's an elf, and He's got like data jacks and stuff like that, and he comes in. And the only reason you notice it as he comes in and he shakes Icefyre's hand, the only reason you notice it is or there are two reasons you notice it. First, it's an elf, and you being brought up in the dragons, you've never had any direct confirmation that they are they are humanist leaning or humanist supported. Like, that's actually not a thing that they directly talk about in the gang, but it's definitely part of the culture.
Yeah, it's kind of like a don't ask, say it kind of thing is how I've always pictured it.
So exactly. So seeing the head of your gang being greeted by and shaking hands with an elf is a little strange. It catches your eye. But the other thing that catches you is as you walk by him, you get this very like cold, chilly sensation. Like it's not real like temperature wise. It's not on your skin. It's just like in your you just get this wrong feeling as you walk past him, and then you're escorted out.
Okay, yeah. I just kind of shiver a bit after I get past and head on out. Do I have a pretty decent like mental image of him? Were there any other than the studded denim jacket, did he have like any noticeable tattoos or scars or anything?
Not that you saw.
Okay.
It was pretty quick. He keeps it dark in his office too. To add to the motif.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Take a deep breath then once I get outside.
And it's you had gone in relatively early in the morning, and it's pretty late at night by the time. So we're gonna rewind a little bit and go back to the junkyard. So you guys at the junkyard there were escorted again through this maze of junkyard stuff. Elric is having a grand old time looking at all this stuff, probably, like, ooh, that's cool, and gotta get me one of those, kind of thing. But being escorted by this orc in blue overalls, you'll also notice anybody who's perceptive enough to see it, won't make anybody roll for it, you would notice that your movements as you're moving through everything are being tracked by like hidden gun turrets. Payday definitely notices them because he's seen them in the past. He knows that it's just a part of the standard security that is here.
Human rats.
Elric is getting rather kind of anxious and impatient, kind of interjecting like, can we just stop just here for a little bit? Wait, are these for sale?
Just waiting kind of for us, and everything here's for sale.
Yeah.
What if somebody else buys it before we come back through here?
The orc who's smoking a cigarette and leading you guys when he hears Payday say that, everything's for sale, he chuckles and says, took the words right out of my mouth. So you get led all the way in, and at the center of this whole thing is a warehouse. It's a big shack that's like the size of a warehouse. It's huge. It's kind of held together by like duct tape and it's corrugated this and steel plates of that and everything. Imagine like if you've played the most recent Fallout, the settlements that you build. It's a lot like that.
Don't let the outside fool you.
Yeah, exactly. Because once you get inside this rough and tumbled junkyard exterior, kind of gives way to a very high-tech workshop that's filled with metahumans, drones, and vehicles, and your people working. They're all working on the drones and stuff.
Elric just like goes up to the nearest one that someone's working on, just reaches as if to grab it.
I grab the back of his jacket.
I was just gonna look.
And the orc says, "Hands off the merchandise, kid. Unless you're paying for it." These all got customers waiting for them, or potential future customers, at the price that we're going to be setting them at.
Payday snickers to himself.
He's just looking around, gazing at all the different, robots that people are working on, and all the different technological parts and things. Strange magical realm that he stepped into.
Yeah, and the transformation from outside to inside this workshop, you get another transformation as you're led across this work floor and into another room that again transitions you from bustling workshop to a plush, tastefully decorated waiting room. And the orc has you guys sit down on a couch, and he checks his comlink and he says, "Miss Gervais, we'll be ready to see you in 5 minutes. I've got some coffee on the pot, or some iced tea if you'd like it."
Ooh, I'll definitely take a coffee.
Of course you will, and I would encourage you all, if you were thinking about not having coffee, to enjoy the coffee, because this is real coffee. And he raises his eyebrows as like he's going to be getting a cup while he's here as well.
Not soy calf?
No, he's serious.
No, I didn't call it soy calf now, did I? I called it coffee.
Nice.
Mrs. Gervais enjoys the pleasantries of life as best as she can afford. So he'll bring you back whatever you might have asked for, iced tea or coffee, and then the coffee comes with like real cream and sugar, and you know, if you get the iced tea, did anybody get the iced tea?
Yeah, not Elric.
Well, if anybody did, it's very sweet, like South Carolina sweet, like Southern Georgia. You know, you're in the Southeast, sweet.
Payday's first instinct is to want to have both, but he knows that is rude.
I love this idea, by the way, that this is the one time, like this is what inspires Payday to have manners.
You gotta respect your drone dealer.
I thought you said we were supposed to have the tea, but you didn't say iced tea, so... And then he said it was real coffee.
No, this time, bonus. I hate tea.
So 5 minutes later, after you guys are sitting there, exactly 5 minutes later, the door is going to open, and the orc who brought you guys in says, "Mrs. Gervais will see you now," and opens a door. You will notice the interesting juxtaposition of, you know, rough southern overalled orc being juxtaposed on this formality. Once you entered into this waiting room, from that moment forward, he seemed to be almost like have the formality of a butler.
All right.
Did we get our coffee yet?
Oh yeah, you've had it for the 5 minutes, or you know, for the 4 minutes that you were waiting.
Yeah, Elric's been kind of approaching his coffee cup almost like an alchemical concoction, gradually adding little amounts of sugar and cream and mixing it together and then tasting it. Just over the course of the entire 5 minutes, gradually, very, very gradually adding bits of this, that, in very small amounts and testing them. He doesn't seem to have been satisfied with the result by the time they're called, but you know he's got the coffee, he's sipping it.
Well, as you're led into the office, it's a very well lit office, and it's big, and it's actually kind of a masculine office, but it's got these feminine touches all over the place. Flowers, vases, antique looking kind of vases, and you know, maybe like, you know, on a table over here there's some doilies hanging off of it, kind of thing. You know, it's a very mix of southern formality and you know, strong masculine wood, like strong dark wood and stuff like that. The walls, they're like a dark reddish wood. They've got ancient weapons all over them, oil paintings. Like it's a very, you know, strong kind of imposing thing. But like I said, here and there with these feminine touches. And from behind the big wooden 17th century desk, you know, that you would notice if you had sort of the acclimation to notice that sort of thing. But a woman rises. She's in black, and she comes up from behind the desk, and she smooths out her skirt. It's like a silky black designer dress that she has, and she moves around. If water were here, she would probably jump all over that. But she moves out from behind the desk and greets you guys and walks across the carpet. That's, you know, again, it's like one of these like what do you call them? These fancy looking like Turkish kind of carpet, and she moves very gracefully and smooth. She's very petite, and she has a dark widow's veil obscuring her face, and she's got like a pale skin and deep red lipstick and very bright eyes. It's very very, like I said, petite and feminine, and she's got the black on and everything. She comes across and greets you, holds her hand out, and says, "Welcome to my office." And she holds her hand out in, that southern kind of way where she's got, she's extending it as an offer for someone to take it.
Payday will sweep his hair back as if that one gesture will fix the mess that he actually is. His hand and takes her hand delicately. It's been too long, Scorch.
It has indeed. Oh my! Please, everyone, sit down. Sit down. These are your friends, Payday.
Yeah, I don't trust a lot of people, but I trust these gentlemen enough that I think that maybe in the future they might have some use for the various wares you might sell. So figured I'd make an introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you for introducing me to your friends. Friends of yours, friends of mine, as we say here. Have a seat. And she sits down with you when you sit down, and she says, "We'll get to business in just a minute, all right? I want to." And she snaps her fingers, and the orc comes in and brings actually a drink. Whatever you guys, each of you individually wanted before, he comes in and offers you some more. And she takes an iced tea, big, tall, clear glass, sweating, on the outside, and she takes sets it down on the table in front of her, and she says, "How has it been? It's been so long since I've seen you, Payday. Where have you been? What have you been doing?"
Yeah, it's been some time. Spent some time outside of Colombia. Seeing the world, seeing what I can make, far away from here. Enough skeletons, right?
Well, we all do have secrets. I won't pry into that because that would be rude. But it's always nice to see the world, to travel, to learn new things. I mean, that has to be commended.
No place like home, right?
Indeed. I mean, I'm still here, aren't I?
Yeah, you're still here.
And who?
Still doing business.
Always doing business. Always making sure that I can keep this humble legacy of mine rolling and moving and supporting the community around us.
And 8 more guns in the junkyard than I remember.
Well, security is an important thing.
So out of character, I'd just like to say I would really love for Elric right now to step up and congratulate Scorch on her fantastic transition.
That's right, because listeners will remember that Payday called Scorch in our first episode, and I accidentally played her as a him. So that one's for you, Eric DeMage. Anyway, she turns to Leroy and says, "And who is this strapping handsome fella?"
No one of consequence.
She furrows her brow a little bit and says, "Well, I introduced myself."
Leroy said she's a lady.
Elric's doing his
put on that stink gas.
It's my best cologne.
Elric's doing his best to sit up tall in his seat so he doesn't seem so short in comparison to Leroy. But, not being terribly obvious about it, just...
He's obviously a little distracted and just kind of like that twitchy finger where you just kind of you see it in westerns where they go to get ready to draw their gun. He's just nervous and antsy and distracted.
Well, would you like to introduce me to your friend, Payday?
Yeah, he's a little shy, and we had a long night last night. Celebration. It was a good time. That's Leroy.
Well, Leroy, it's nice to meet you.
Same.
And this adorable young man.
We call him Stretch.
She smiles when you say Stretch, and she says, "I just love that name."
I sort of just for a moment there, like deflate a bit and lose a few of the extra inches I'd added in by the short person's equivalent of sucking in your gut. And but then sort of with her compliment, you just back it up by just sort of sitting back up more kind of naturally and confidently. But you can call me Elric if you like. A stretch does seem to suit me these days. It is most nice to meet you. I did not realize that Payday had such refined friends.
Well, we are in the South, and despite what you might hear, despite what you might see in the rougher parts, and from less savory individuals, we have a long history and tradition of cordiality and of politeness, and that is important to some of us in this fine part of the country.
Okay, but can I please say, oh my God, I love your place so much.
She smiles and she puts her hands on her hip and kind of like cocks her head and she says, "That is so nice of you to say. I happen to quite like it as well."
Payday said some of those things out there that looked really cool are for sale.
Well, everything.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking business. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I got excited.
Business will come, but yes, this is a wonderful place. I love being here, and I'm glad to see that you like it as well. But let us introductions being what they are. Let's talk business. What brings you here today, Payday?
Well, one moment I'm getting nagged, and then Eon blinks into existence. It's such a pleasure to meet another lady. I also was unaware that Payday had such refined friends.
And who is this?
This
Or
is
smiles,
Eon,
beams, and waves at Eon.
my partner.
You have a partner now, Payday? Why didn't you tell me?
It didn't occur to me.
Well,
Of course, first he would have had to put his goggles on.
that's not exactly polite. It didn't occur to you. That's not a nice thing to say to such a fine-looking lady. And she's gesturing to Eon when she says that.
Business, right?
She smiles and she says, Tell me about I don't remember, out of character, I don't remember if you said her name, but she says, what is her name?"
Eon.
"Eon. It is nice to meet you."
She's an expert system.
"An expert at what?"
Usually apologizing for Hector.
She smiles and laughs and she says, "And with a sense of humor, I am going to like you."
Oh, she's great.
Well, you said business, so let's get to business.
Yeah, easy stuff. Or I hope so anyway. And it looks like you have grown the operation, so I imagine it will be. Looking to get my hands on, among other things, a rotodrone. And I was actually hoping at getting something with a little character.
Oh, character. A rotodrone should not be too much of a problem, but what exactly do you mean by character?
I don't know. I hate the run of the mill, off the line things. You know my taste in drones. It's odd. You know, maybe even something that's been beat up a little bit. I don't know. Something reliable.
Sure. I mean, we are in no short supply of beat up things, and I mean, if y'all just looking for a paint job, we've got Fink out there who does beautiful body work, but you're gonna have to give me a little bit more.
My idea anyway is to end up providing ground support for my team in the ways of long ranged ground support. So I'd like something that might stay hidden, maybe with a fancy coat of something maybe a little bit better than paint for that to happen.
Interesting. So you're talking about some kind of some sort of stealthy outer layers and some sort of and she's going to start using like technical words and many of you will, she's using, she's speaking the same southern drawl, everything, but she suddenly switches from this very cordial, polite, feminine sort of language that she's using, and everything's very technical now.
Elric is just drinking it in like he's taking in poetry, trying to memorize as much of it as he can, even though he doesn't know what most of it means. Though I do actually have one pointed automatic mechanic now. So
Well,
I pick up little tiny bits.
well, a roto drone isn't that a? Wouldn't that be a aeronautics or something?
Certainly
Right.
would.
Yeah, but that's not exactly a technical term.
I know. So she says, she's talking about outer coatings, and you guys are going back and forth and whatnot. So, speaking more mechanically, do you know any sort of like have you already thought about what it is that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think I want to get a roto with some chameleon skin, I think, or a chameleon coat. Hold on for 1 second here. While we're at it, though. Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to interject. I've switched to astral perception, and I got 2 hits on a perception test and 4 hits on a sensing test to just generally get a feel for what's astral here. If there's a ward in the room, if not, is there a ward in the room? Is there not? And is there anything unusual? Get a feel for the area.
Everything looks pretty mundane from the astral plane. The area has a sort of, an astral presence that matches the tone and feeling that the decorations are trying to give off. It's a very pleasant feeling and happy and comfortable sort of area.
I'm not going to sense her because that would probably require me to stare at her somewhat rudely, and she might notice.
So, book-wise, the roto is around 5,000 new yen. Chameleon coating would be 4,000, but it is 12F. So Payday's not asking for any light stuff here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to roll some dice here, so hold on.
And the chameleon coating by book would be 4,000.
All right, you said how much did it cost? 4,000?
4,000, yep.
Okay, so that's a typical delivery time of 2 days. She got some. Are you? She's doing some looking around. Are you looking to just pay the book price, or are you wanting to get it faster? Like, you willing to throw any money at it, or what?
You know what? For this, I'm willing to wait. So I would be looking for book price.
All right. Well, then she says she's talking as she's talking to you about it. You can see that she's moving around and doing some searching and some things in AR. She's like, during your conversation, she's put some glasses on that look like, reading glasses almost. They look very nice and fashionable. And she starts, manipulating things in augmented reality, like she's looking things up and talking to you and putting in settings and searching. And she says, "I think I've got what you're looking for right here. If you'll take a look." She points to her eyes to see if you're, looking in AR.
Oh, I nod.
She says,
"It always is."
So she opens up, and anybody who's there will see now that she makes visible. So it's almost like a clipboard or something, and she turns it around and swipes it over to show Payday a list of specifications and whatnot to have you look it over. And she says, "Will this do? I think I can get this for you tomorrow."
Payday grunts, looks through it. Is it essentially what I was looking for?
Yeah.
Grunts an acknowledgement, and then suddenly looks a little happier. He is currently on uppers, so.
Yeah, I should have asked you that before, but you had enough time
You
to
don't go
think
on
about that. Yeah.
You don't go on downers to see a lady.
Yeah.
I like it. I really, really like it. I think I'll call him Longshot.
That is a wonderful name. She claps her hands together and has this big smile on her face. She says, "You know what they say, pleasure doing business." That'll be.
We ain't done.
Oh, is that so? Well, how rude of me to assume. What else would you like to be? Would you need?
Well, I figured we hadn't seen each other in so long. I might as well, make it worth your time. I'm looking for a deal on maybe a couple Dobermans.
All right, no problem. Let's see what we can do. And she goes through the same thing again. Give me the what's the availability?
Oh, Dobermans, they would be Shopping with Payday. They're just for our.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, she says, "Are you looking for anything special?"
I'm looking for a couple drones that are going to take some bullets.
Well, we've got plenty of things like that around here.
Their well-being isn't a priority for me. So, like I said, looking for a deal.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I will have my friendly assistant take you out to where we keep the Dobermans, and you can pick 2 out yourself, or however many you're looking for. We've got plenty.
And this is why I love doing business with you.
She smiles and she says, "The feeling is mutual, Payday." And she puts her hand out again for you to, offering her hand to you again.
I take it and shake him. Payday's been like randomly through this. He finds her rather charming, so he blushes randomly and kind of stammers a little bit during the conversation.
And she is very charming. You guys would have picked up that pretty well. And she says, "Well, is there any more business that you'd like to do?"
No, I'm good for now.
Well, I do have some things that I must attend to. I don't want to leave abruptly, though, so I have just had my assistant. She brought in this morning some of the most divine deviled eggs I've ever tasted, and they're out there in the waiting room in the refrigerator. I will have Kurt go and grab them for you. That's the orc that brought you in. He'll grab them for you, and if you'd like, you can snack on some of those on the way out. It was a pleasure meeting the 2 of you, Leroy and Elric.
No,
And, yes, the honor was all mine. I mean, Drek. Did I say that right?
Yeah, it was good.
And then Elric covers his mouth.
Except for swearing.
And then looks embarrassed. He kind of blushes a bit.
Cursing in front of a lady.
She and as you guys, she smiles at the stumble, and she says, as you're leaving, in the most, like, in such a way that doesn't seem stereotypical at all. You might not have even realized that she used a stereotype until you walked out the door. She says, "Y'all come back now, you hear?" But that's how smooth and charming she is. It didn't even seem like she was using a cliche. The deviled eggs are delicious if you partake.
Oh, I definitely partake.
Oh, yeah. Elric takes one to be polite but not greedy.
All right.
He takes 3, 1 for each drone he just bought.
That's right.
Wow.
The complimentary deviled eggs are per item, right? Not just per transaction.
So Payday.
Yeah.
How'd you meet her?
It's a long story, but like I said, when you're in the area and you're dealing with the kind of stuff I used to deal with, I was one of the best mechanics in this place. People like her have uses for people like me, and it goes around the other way as well.
Yeah, well, I think I got about a half hour left on my stim pad, and then I'm going to be useless. But maybe I could come back here sometime and kind of look through that junkyard area. I saw a lot of things that, and there might be some reagent level rust out there.
You just let me know. I'm happy to come back here, and like I said, I took you guys here to introduce you in case you happen to need some serious hardware, and there's some vehicles around, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying my car from this place when I get one.
The
Good
ti-
luck.
Didn't we have 2 cars?
Yeah, we do.
the title
Yeah,
of
but nobody lets me drive them.
the title of this episode might be Reagent Level Rust.
And not to waste any more time, but Payday will go and pick out a couple Nissan Doberman. Is he able to score any discount, or is it just straight book price?
It's just book price.
I'll take it. I don't mess around with easily accessible drones.
She definitely loves and appreciates the fact that you came in and are doing some good business with her. But it's been a while, so maybe if you continue, maybe she'll throw some frequent customer discounts your way. Well, that was fun. By the time you guys are up and out of there, what else are you guys doing? Leroy, after you're tagging along, you doing anything, or is Throwback? Throwback, remember you got all those repeated phone calls from and text messages and stuff from Elric.
Yeah, what was that last one? Something about Elric wants to touch all of the robots?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, you got one of those from Leroy?
Nah, I didn't send him any messages.
No, from Elric.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yes. Stuff about being a really cool place. And there's all this stuff, and we wanted to stop and buy them, and no one's letting him stop and help. And yeah, it was just a sort of a quickly sent message from about half an hour ago.
Yeah, I guess you'll get a reply back with like a couple of question marks, and then say you probably shouldn't touch anything.
I text back. Yeah, Leroy stopped me, but Payday bought some drones, and we got some deviled eggs and real coffee. You missed out.
You didn't save me any? I love deviled eggs.
He puts the last one in his mouth.
Yeah, they had the relish in them too.
Text back. Anyway, I'm glad you're okay. It's kind of late. I gotta go to bed now. I'm gonna have a stim patch crash, but we should get together soon. Tomorrow morning, maybe. I want to talk about some ideas I had for Eon, and there's also the matter of the extra thing that might mean extra nuient for us that I handed you to look at.
Yeah, I've been real busy today, so I haven't had a chance to look at that yet. But it's gonna be, yeah. We'll talk tomorrow.
There's another text about a minute later. By the way, did you come drinking with us last night?
I don't know. Did I go drinking with them last night?
Well, if you don't know, then I guess Throwback can't remember. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. This show would not be possible without the generous support of our patrons over at Patreon. If you like the show and you want to help support it, head on over to patreon.com/complexaction. Supporting can get you access to GM notes that I put out every month, and even the chance to get selected to join us as a guest on our cast party episodes that we do from time to time. That is patreon.com/complexaction to help us out. There were several NPCs and organizations which were provided by patrons of Complex Action while we were creating the show almost a year ago, and the ones that appeared in this episode were Icefyre and the Dragon's Gang, submitted by Robert McPherson, and Scorch, the Drone Dealer, by Eric DeMage. Thank you guys for supporting the show. And the character art seen on our YouTube page and various other social media places was done by Ethan Brewerton. Check out his awesome Shadowrun artwork at esbrewerton.com. The background music in this episode is brought to you by Prism Shard. To hear more of his Shadowrun-inspired music, head on over to soundcloud.com/prism-shard and give him some love. The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sounds, audio, video, and or any proprietary material used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. has granted permission to Complex Action to use such names, logos, artwork, marks, and or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its websites, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Complex Action in any official capacity whatsoever.